week on the Trailblazers.
Called to such a high position at such a young age?
Tamara, it was one of the most frightening moments of my life. I'm not gonna lie. During the debate on the state of emergency, there were some comments there, you know, people threatening, I hope you're dead, that kind of thing. So it gets nasty. When you have such a large portion or a large demographic of youth in Jamaica, why shouldn't somebody be there that can understand and that can speak about their experiences?
She is Jamaica's youngest senator, a position she was appointed to at just 23 years old. And recently, she was appointed as the president of the People's National Party's youth organization. I'm delighted to have this week on the Trailblazers the beautiful and inspiring Gabriela Morris.
There's no shame in doing it differently from you imagined, or doing it differently from how other people imagine.
Stay tuned.
Some of our most prominent producer them in the industry tell Tony that he could not bust a female artist because
Failing is one thing. Failing publicly is a very hard thing. My father always said he was growing a prime minister.
And I said I was holding my mouth, the lies were going, and I sat and I saw women on the TV just lying bluntly, just like that.
Release the all media survey, and when they look at the name Ron Mushek, 0, 0, 0. And then they send back to say that they apologize. The lady up there never put in the number.
Seriously?
In terms of help or like house cleaning.
Yeah, my mom was a helper back then and stuff. To be honest, I was just excited, you know, to play for West Indies.
I did it and I made my move into entrepreneurship at 40.
What, last comments would you want to share with
You have your core values, you do the right things, it'll fall in place for you.
So of course, I am so delighted to have the beautiful, the talented, and Jamaica's youngest senator, Gabriela Morris, the lovely Gabriela Morris. Hi, Gabriela. Pleasure to have you on the Trailblazers.
Hey, Tamara, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here to share with you and your listeners, your viewers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, hon. All right. So jumping right into your story, because just the mere fact you already are recognized nationally as Jamaica's youngest senator, and that is a position you received, I think, 2 years ago now. It's 2 years now.
Yeah, 2020. Wow.
Time flies indeed. And at the time you were just 23 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. So, that is indeed a major accomplishment. And then recently, you also were selected as the new president of the People's National Party Youth Organization as well. So congratulations on all of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
And of course, in addition to all of that and our youth advocacy and our motivational speaking, Gabriela is also working on her master's as well. So I don't know how she finds time to do everything, but we're going to touch on a bit of her story today. All right, so Gabriela, let's start from your earlier years. Okay, you're still pretty young, but let's just start from your earlier years. I know you grew up in Montego Bay. What were your earlier years like as a child?
Well, I grew up in Mobay, yes, proud Montegonian. And I grew up with my mom and dad, as well as my younger brother. I grew up in church, so very, religious upbringing. As well as I was very involved. I was one of those enough picnic. You could count on me to be enough. I wasn't always as talkative as I am now. I think I was a little bit more reserved in my younger years, so much so that, some of my teachers, were surprised when I started off into politics. But I always had a love for service, even as a younger woman. I grew in a household where my parents would always have us out doing volunteer activities, visiting shut-in people, visiting children's homes. So I think that was really where my love for service was born, as well as my granny. Let me tell you about my granny. My grandmother, a stalwart nurse, and she was just one of those persons in her community that really just looked out for everybody. And she would bring me with her whenever she came to visit me or whenever I went to visit her, you know, to look for older persons, to test their blood pressure, to make sure they have food, to sing with them, pray with them. So it was from those earlier years where I realized that this is what I love, people, you know, service, giving of myself. And it was there, I think, that, you know, the passion that I have now for leadership and service was really born. I went to Mobe High, and I have to give a lot of credit to, you know, my alma mater for the woman that I am today, because our motto is be and not to see, esse non vedere. And it's something that I've used to shape, you know, my whole life view, you know, to be somebody who cares about people, to be somebody who shows up, to be somebody who is genuine. And I find that much of what I've learned at Mobe High has really stuck with me, has really molded me into the consummate young woman. And I'm really happy for that kind of upbringing and background.
That is awesome, Gabriela. And I mean, I definitely identify with the North kids, because that's one of the things I always encourage, like even teenagers now. I'm like, you know, if you are enough, don't let anybody make you feel away, because those are the persons who I've come to realize, including myself, but just generally, who go out and excel in their respective fields. So you can't let anybody stop you from, you know, from you shining. So I really definitely understand where you're coming from, where that is concerned. Plus, Montego Bay High is on all girls school as well, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and I went to Western, and that's all girls as well. So I understand the focus and the discipline.
And the funny thing is that, you know, I went to an all girls school, and then I went to UE and I lived on an all girl hall. So
Mary C. Cole.
Mary C. Cole Hall. I was a woman of Mary C. Cole. And so it just kind of reinforced some of the principles of sisterhood that, you know, you learn coming up. And you know, I think that was where I really started to get involved in empowering women and girls. And I had that passion for it. So I have to credit Mary C. Cole for some of that, for igniting some of that passion in me too.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm a Rexan, not a sequelite at all right, for those who are listening, you're probably like, what are we talking about? So we're talking about some of the halls at the University of the West Indies. Yeah, just to make it clear, because for those who are not from Jamaica, they may not understand, or even attend UE, they may not understand. All right, so moving on, Gabriela. So you mentioned your earlier years and your involvement in high school in terms of student affairs. So I know that transcended as well. That's, you know, continued when you went to university as well.
For sure. I was chairwoman of the only sorority on campus, leading 200 and enough women at the time. And I was also vice president of the Guild of Students with responsibility for student welfare. And then I ran for president of the Guild of Students. I didn't win, but it was a great opportunity and a learning opportunity nonetheless. So I did have, you know, that background in student leadership and student development. And I think those years kind of really prepared me for what was to come. It was also at UE that I really engaged the political side of me a little bit more, because when I went to campus, I mean, before that, let me tell you, I come from a household where my parents, a lot of political discussions. They might not be involved in, you know, the political machinery of any party, but there was always an emphasis on civic discussions, political discussions. So I grew up with that. But when I came to UE was when I started to explore my own, you know, political leanings and ideologies a little bit more. And I was like, you know, I don't want to just blindly go out and support whichever party, you know, my parents support, but I also want to find out, what do I believe in? And, you know, what is my vision of Jamaica, and which party I think can best produce that vision of Jamaica. And so for me, I I started to get involved in UE Visions. So that's the PNP's youth arm on UE campus. And from there, I went on and I got involved in the YO, and, you know, it was just growing and learning from there. And I decided that, you know, I wanted to make the PNP my party of choice.
Okay, very interesting. And I mean, I like the fact that even from, as you mentioned, from those earlier years, that sort of prepared you for, you know, what you're doing now. So that is very awesome. All right, Gabriela. So, I mean, now moving on to that point of when you were selected as senator, right? What was that like for you? Because I remember when I saw it in the media, seeing this pretty girl right across the pages of, you know, the papers, and, you know, seeing the stories online, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing, at 23 becoming a senator. So what was that moment for you, being called to such a high position at such a young age?
Tamara, it was one of the most frightening moments of my life. I'm not gonna lie. I can say it now. In the moment, it was very scary, but it was also a moment where I felt most honored to have even been considered for something like that. I remember the day when Dr. Phillips called me and asked me, and I was like, Dr. Phillips, you're sure? You're sure?
And she's of course talking about Dr. Peter Phillips, the former president of the PNP.
That's right. Right. Dr. Phillips was the one that actually appointed me to the Senate. And I was in such, you know, it was a moment of disbelief almost, because, you know, it's not doubting yourself, but it's just that it has never been done before, you know. And normally when you hear of the Senate, you think of older persons, you know. And so for me, I had to just take a moment and pause and be like, what does this mean? You know, but after that subsided, it was more so a feeling of honor, because I could start to see the awesome responsibility that it would be, not just for me, but, you know, because there was so much weight on it, I felt almost like I had to perform, because, you know, when you're the first to do something, you know, if you're not doing it good, problem. So I felt that weight in the moment to ensure that I rose to the occasion. And I for the past 2 years, I've been trying to do that. I tell you, the learning curve is very steep, because as somebody who doesn't have a legal background, I was very apprehensive about, you know, looking over legislation, that kind of thing, because that's what we do in the Senate. However, I think that I've always had a willingness to learn. I've always been quick on the fly. And so I took some time to study and really catch up and observe, you know, what has been done before, and look at how I can bring my own unique flair to it too. Because a part of being a young leader is knowing that you're really not there to do what has been done before.
Exactly.
So it's okay if you come with your own unique flair and style. And so I have to remind myself sometimes that it's okay if you don't know how to do it, like, you know, so and so. You won't. They've been there for years. And so I had to constantly remind myself, you know, that it's okay, because it does get intimidating at times. But I think I've gotten to a place where I'm able to stand and, you know, acknowledge that I'm here for a reason, and I'm just doing it my way, you know.
I love that, because as you mentioned, if you came and did what everybody else is doing all the time, then what would be the difference that you are making? So I definitely appreciate that. And I like that, because you're bringing, and that's why they appointed you as well, because they want to get something fresh, something different.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so I remember when the news of the appointment just broke, and there was a particular comment that was made by a commentator. I'll never forget that. And, you know, it was in regards to experience and whatever. And I sat and I thought about it. And I said, I can take this comment and I can be upset about it. I can feel this way about it, or I can analyze it and use it as strength. And I thought about it and I said, well, everybody has their own unique experience. And I believe that a variety of experiences are necessary in the political process, because when you have such a large portion or a large demographic of youth in Jamaica, why shouldn't somebody be there that can understand and that can speak about their experiences? And what young person, you know, so I might not have the same experiences as somebody who's been in the Senate for 20 years, but I've had experience nonetheless that is necessary, the youth experience. And for me, I believe that any government that wants to be successful has to consider the experiences of young people. So I don't take it for granted. And I hope that over time, more people will begin to acknowledge, you know, the very serious role that young people can play in the political process.
Wow, that is so true, Gabriela. That is so true. But that's an interesting point, though, that you raised, Gabriela, in terms of what that commentator mentioned, because especially in Jamaica, where the political environment can at times be so tribalistic, and I mean, how do you deal with that? You know, do we have to develop a sort of thick-skinned, like, how do you manage the criticism? Because they will come and have come.
You know, I was speaking to Lisa Hannah a couple weeks back, and we were talking about the same subject, you know, of criticism. And I said to her, you know, how you manage? Like, is it just that you just take it and it's water off a duck's back? And she said, no. She stopped me and she said, no, it can't be water off a duck's back. Because if you do that, then you won't find the lesson in the criticism. And that was an aha moment for me, like, okay, so even though sometimes, you know, persons might come with, you know, very, very caustic arguments, sometimes there's a lesson there. Sometimes there's something that you can step back and look at and say, okay, maybe I can do this, or maybe we can approach it like this. So that's the first thing I try to do sometimes. It's not all the time, because when you're in the public space, you get a lot of feedback, a lot of criticisms, a lot of comments out there. I really don't read all of them. So sometimes, you know, there'll be an article out, and people will go and say to me that, oh, they're saying this or they're saying that. I really don't take it on myself anymore to really go and sit down and read all of them, because the truth is, at the end of the day, politicians are people too. And I feel that people sometimes forget that. There have been times when, especially I remember specifically during the debate on the state of emergency, there were some comments there, you know, people threatening, I hope you're dead, that kind of thing. So it gets nasty. But I find that one of the things that I've had to do is to remain focused. Sometimes you might wonder, like, is this all worth it? But I always come back to my why. And my why for doing this is that, you know, I believe in Jamaica. I love my country. I believe that we can do much better. And I want to be a part of that solution. You know, it's a sacrifice sometimes. And I tell you, many persons might not think of it this way. But as a young person, you know, just 23, you know, you have whole life ahead of you. I tell people I could start over my life 3 times and still be a young girl. So for me to you know, sacrifice a lot of myself, a lot of my energies for my country, I think it's a worthwhile venture. And you know, I hope that I can continue to spend time doing it. So the criticism, I mean, I'm lucky to have friends and family who I can rally back on, you know, because some days when you're out there doing the politics, it drains you. You're tired. Yeah. You're tired. You have to have people who you can come home to. And when I say home, I don't mean a physical home, but, you know, people who feel like home to you, people who have your best interest, that you have to have a firm foundation. And I'm happy that, you know, I have that between my mom, my dad, my aunties. Oh my gosh, I have a super auntie there. I don't about this, and I bet you I'm not going to tell them about it, but they're going to find it. So they are super supportive of me, and you know, I'm just happy that I have that circle of people, you know, who keep me going. You know, I even getting teary now because
no, but I really love that because you are so right. Having that support system is so crucial. And she indeed is getting teary-eyed. Yeah, but it's crucial that you do have that for real, because at the end of the day, when you set out on a journey to accomplish a great accomplishment or a great feat in life, you will have the naysayers. But as I love the point that you mentioned, that you come back to your why. And at the end of the day, we all have a role to play. You choosing to be this path as a young leader, that's amazing. And so keep at it, man. Don't let the naysayers get to you, because that's just part of the journey. Yeah, that's just part of the journey. All right, but on the flip side though, as we spoke about the naysayers, I'm sure though that being a senator and also now the president of the PNPYO, so being a young woman in politics has also opened you up to, being able to personally, because I see that you're a motivational speaker as well, to encourage and to empower other people, both young, old, and in between. What has that been like for you?
It's one of the best parts of the job. Just being able to meet with people and to see that impact on their lives is just something that warms my heart. It lifts my spirit most times when I get to interact with people in a space like that. I also do a program that I'm very passionate about. It's Girls Past the Age of Consent. So it's a developmental program that I coordinate on campus for young girls, young women, where we'll teach them, different skills. We have discussions, and, just sometimes the feedback from them. Oh, I didn't know this and I learned this. I'm happy that I got to meet so and so. It's just really one of the things that I enjoy doing. Getting to also go to different schools and speak to young people. Sometimes, I try to think about what I would have wanted to hear as a high school student, and I share that with them, because some of them, especially from rural Jamaica, don't know of many of the opportunities that persons in the city might know about. And so as somebody, a country girl, I think
myself as well.
Of course, the owner to also share with them, some opportunities that they can benefit from. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, sharing opportunities for young people, because I believe that when you're able to equip young people with opportunities, they're unstoppable. There's so many young people across this island who just want a chance. They just want a chance to show what they can do. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yes.
And so I just try to be one of those persons that looks out for their interests. Ever so often I get messages on Instagram, on WhatsApp. I need this, where can I find this scholarship? And I always try to, even though I'm busy, I try to take some time out to help them to find, avenues where they can access that, because I think it's so important to equip young people, especially educationally. Education is that vehicle that, for me, as a young woman, not coming from a privileged place, was able to open so many doors. And so I believe in education. I believe that young people have to be able to have access to it and benefit from it,
Yeah, I really appreciate that advice, Gabriela. And I like the point, especially emphasizing that you yourself, you're not from a privileged background, but you got a chance. You got, and also through education, capitalizing on that. And that is the story for so many of us, especially those who are either from rural communities or, other persons, they may be from inner city communities, you name it. But as you mentioned, just getting that chance and being dedicated and persistent and going after your dream and your goal, you can make it happen. So, I love what you're doing. And, this leads actually me to my next question. Where do you see yourself? You're still pretty young. I know maybe I don't know if you're the kind of person that has a vision board or your script, or you decide on what you're going to manifest. I really don't know, but do you have like a personal ambition political wise here in Jamaica, or you'd rather not say?
So I have a vision board, but I do so more so through journaling. I like to write it down because the other day, uncanny, the other day I found a piece of paper from, I think, my first year of university, where I wrote down everything that I wanted to do, during my time at UA. And it was amazing how many of them I actually checked off.
Oh.
So the of writing those things down, or there's this thing that I love to do. My partner actually got me to do this, is to make videos to my older self, So it's a way of, tracking your progress and seeing where you're coming from and, reflecting, But for me, in 5 years, politically, I do see myself still being involved in politics. I think I have a lot left to give. I don't know at what level, but I know that I still want to be involved in the political process. They say that when you get into the politics, you can't walk away from it so easily. I must confess that I do enjoy it. I enjoy every aspect of it, Personally, I see myself making some money, I'll finish my master's, hopefully, pray for me people, by November. I should be graduating, I'm hoping. So I've been doing with school for a little while. I do have aspirations of continuing maybe a PhD somewhere in the bag. But I want to take a break from academics. I've been at school since I was 2. I never took a break between my undergrad and my master's. I went straight for it. Yeah. And so I need to take a little bit of a break from the academic side of things, and just refuel and go back. So that's generally it. I just see myself being, happy about life, living, actually, because sometimes I think we get caught up as public officials, with the hustlings and bustlings of things, and we forget, that life is still there to live. And as a young woman, I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done this. So while I'm doing everything else, I still want to live and enjoy life and see the world and meet people and eat enough food and, do that kind of thing.
I definitely agree, Gabriela. And I mean, I also agree with everything that you said. It's so important. I mean, I myself being a young woman as well, just that it's important that you live your life on your terms, and it's important that you follow your dreams and your goals. And I mean, just being able, as you mentioned, to look back and say like, wow, when I was 23, like Gabriela, I was a senator. Whoa. That is amazing. I'm so proud of you. All right, so
and I want to jump on what you just said, about living life on your terms. It's something that I always tell young people. There's no shame in doing it differently from you imagined, or doing it differently from how other people imagined you would do it. There's a song by, I don't remember right now who's singing, but it's My Way. I Did It My Way. And that's, that song.
I think it's Frank Sinatra. Is it?
Frank Sinatra. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
That's one of my songs that, has guided me, has brought me back to center. Do it your way. It doesn't matter how long it takes to do it, or if you do it in whatever order. Some people worried about that. I know a lot of young people struggle with that. So it really doesn't matter. Craft your own path for your life. And sometimes it's okay to take the road less traveled by. It's okay to walk a path that everybody else is not walking. It might be lonely. It might be hard, but it pays off.
I love that. I love that. It pays off. It certainly does, and it certainly will. And as I wrap up this lovely interview, Gabriela, because we could go on, because, well, actually I have this is my penultimate question. Who inspires you?
I think I've developed this ability to see the good in everybody. So there's so many people that, I might take aspects of them and I might say, wow, that inspires me. But I think that overall, I would have to say that I'm continuously and inspired and motivated by my parents. I think they were my first heroes. As two civil servants, they're both teachers. I've always watched how, they have dedicated themselves to a life of service. The sacrifices that they've made, not just for me and my younger brother, but also for countless other young people, who they've taken under their wing. And so whenever I talk about my parents, I feel this sense of pride because I know that there are people who care about people. And I think they've inspired me and molded me into that person from such an early age, as I told you. And so I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud to call them my parents. And they love me endlessly. I'm their baby. So I hope when they watch this, they'll see this and smile, But outside of that, I mean, in the political space, I've been lucky to pick up good mentors, I think. I can mention, my Senate colleagues, they've been so warm and kind, and they've really helped to show me the ropes. And they're also people who inspire me because they're people who are doing so well in their different areas of expertise. And I really look up to all of them, Overall, I think I'd also say that I'm inspired by ordinary people, like everyday people who just get up and do their best at life. I think that in itself is such a commendable feat, when all else is crumbling around you, when you don't have the money that you would want to have, when you don't have a drive, when you don't have food on your table, and you still get up and do your best at life. It's really those ordinary Jamaicans that inspire me to keep going and to keep doing the work that I do. It's really them that I think of when I serve. And I say, boy, there are people out there who really need me to speak on their behalf and to make a difference and to advocate for them. And so they continue to inspire me.
Oh, I love that, Gabriela. So, I mean, it has been such a wonderful interview so far. And as I wrap up, I mean, one of the points and one of the aims for the Trailblazers is that other people who are watching and listening can be left feeling inspired. And as someone who is still so young, what words would you want to say to other persons who are watching, not only just the young people, but older adults as well, in terms of the pursuit of their dreams and their goals, no matter what they have faced or will face?
One of the first things that I would say is to believe in the power of your dream. Believe in the power of your dream. Don't short yourself. Believe that this is something that I want to do. I have everything within me to do it. I will not fail. I will not fall by the wayside, but I will achieve. Because you see, once you believe in yourself, then it makes the journey 100 times easier. Because even when you feel like you're faltering, even when you question, even when you just feel down, that belief in self will carry you. And it will always bring you back to your center, always bring you back to your core of why you're doing it. So that's the first thing that I would say. Believe in yourself. One of the other things that I always say to people is to be smart about what you're doing. Belief is good, yes, but you have to work smart, because the truth is that this world is not set up to be fair. It's not set up to be fair, especially to young people. There are so many systematic obstacles that we face. And so when I talk to young people, I always say, think about the best way to get to your destination, that you reach your goals and reach your full potential. So I'd say to young people especially, take time out to know yourself, take time out to learn your strengths, and take time out to see how you can use those strengths to advance yourself and to advance others, because that's what it's about too. That's our whole goal of being here on this earth, to make the lives of others easier, brighter, and better. And we should never forget that. Even as we try to uplift ourselves, we have to uplift others.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. You are indeed such an exemplary young leader. And, not even just, I didn't even need to put the young leader, an exemplary leader. Yes. Let me even take off the young, because it's not like you're exemplary because you're young. You're an exemplary leader. So I'm so proud of you, Gabriela, and I'm sure our viewers have felt inspired by hearing just a bit of your story. Because I mean, you probably wouldn't even have gone into some of your trials as well. So keep at it.
Right.
And thank you so much. We had a little bit of internet glitches closer to the end, but we persevered, you persevered. So thank you so much and keep blazing your trail.
Thank you for having me, Tamara, and keep giving persons this opportunity to tell their stories. You know, that's important too. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, I am JAMAICA'S television and radio presenter, producer, communication specialist, and of course producer and host of the Trailblazers series. And I'm inviting you, yes, you, to join the Trailblazers family. So all you have to do is just click the subscribe button right below, and then you're going to make sure that you hit the notification bell so you are alerted as to when we have new episodes, which are generally weekly episodes on a Sunday. And then join our family for these inspiring episodes that will not only lift your spirits, but they will give you the tools, the keys, and the strategies that you need so that you can walk in your purpose and continue to blaze your trail. Thank you for watching.